first off, we got Norm Olson from the Calgary Guild. He's president down there. We have Stu Bremner from the Edmonton Guild. And of course, everybody knows Bert. And if you don't know Bert, then this is Bert. He's from the Edmonton Guild as well. And there's a fella here from PEI. I'm not sure I know his name.
John?
John? Yeah, and he's another guest, and he came with Norm tonight. So
He's all the way from PEI especially for this.
Yeah.
oh, okay. He came especially to see Bert.
He's the president of the PEI Guild.
Oh, there you go.
We've got a lot of presidents here.
So we got a president's club here tonight. Cool.
Too many.
Right on. So I'm going to introduce Bert Delisle here tonight. He's going to do a triangle box for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's give him some attention, I guess. Yeah.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I had a safety moment about face shields. And I was going to bring my computer and play a little video that I went on YouTube here 2 years ago. I had a mishap in my shop and I used the wrong tool on a turning and I hit spindle roughing gouge and end grain turning, and the end cap came apart along with everything else. Happened in about a split second. If you go on YouTube and look up face shield saves the day, it just turned over 50,000 views. Yeah, so it went viral. I've got comments from all over the world. People are saying, "Oh, I hope you're okay." But face shield saved the day because it did collapse the face shield, bent my glasses a little bit, no blood on the wood, no nothing. And this thing was an urn. It was about that big around and about that long, and it came apart in about 14 pieces, and it just shattered and went everywhere. But the reason it failed is because I used the wrong tool for the job. But the most important message is wear a face shield. I wear them for everything, even small stuff anymore. So that's my safety moment for the day. And then onward, and I guess I should get rid of that. And go there. How's that? So today I'm going to do a demonstration on making a cubed box. So this is the piece we're going to make. It's got a little lid, it's a little cube, and it's got steep wings, and it's hollow. And it started from a block like this, just a regular cube. So one of the things I learned when I started making these is I had a hard time picturing what the cube looks like, or what the finished product would look like when I'm just looking at a cube. Just for whatever reason I wasn't able to picture what it was going to look like. So I took the liberty of putting some pencil marks on here, and I would lay this finished one on the cube to try and figure out how the heck do these points line up, and you find out that the width of the cube is point to point. And so I put a pencil mark on it. And then I went to the other side and then put a pencil mark on it. Now when I mounted this on the lathe, as soon as I put it on the lathe, I knew where it was supposed to be turning. The first one I did, I put it on the lathe and I tried to turn it around. I took all the points off. So I ended up making something else out of that. I think people call it firewood. But since then, I just made it, when I start one of these, I take a look at what's the top and what's the bottom, and I'll generally put a felt marking pen on something just so that I don't forget to take all the points off again. So I'll send this one around. This is one I did for the Edmonton Club in February.
Well, you might not listen.
And we'll get prepared. I'm going to do this one with this bigger block of wood and see how it goes. Only because I wrote on it. It says, "Blank for winged box demo at RedDeer." Otherwise, I would have probably turned it into something else. So one of the problems or challenges we have is you try and put a cube in a chuck and bring the post up, or the point up, and you got a sharp point, and it's a little difficult to get this perfectly centered. And the better center job you do, the more accurate your box will be. So we, up in Edmonton, Ted Kuzo, yeah, we were talking about how to do this, and he made these little plastic triangle pieces that fit perfectly into a 50 millimeter chuck. And of course it's plastic, so when you put this thing in here, you don't have to crank it down really hard. It's gonna drive it. And you put your cube in that little triangle, and it kind of holds it nice and straight. But then what do you do at the other side? You can still have this out a little bit. So because we were making them on a 3D printer, I got a second one and mounted it in a block of wood that I can put on my tailstock. So now I've got a cube drive on the chuck, and I've got a cube drive on the tailstock. Now that thing is spinning about as close to center as I'll ever need to, and I didn't have to measure anything, I didn't have to flatten anything, just put them together and it's automatically centered. Okay, so what's the next step on here? Any questions about those cube drives up for the chucks?
That's the ones that the fellow in Edmonton was making with his plastic
3D printer, yeah.
the 3D printer, yeah.
Yeah. And they're 50 millimeters on the outside, and they've just got a, basically when he made them, he took a 50 millimeter disc on his 3D printer program, and he made a cube, and he just stuck the cube in the center, and it printed. It's magic. It's like magic. You just push the button and these things came out.
They're about $10 a set, aren't they?
I'm not sure what they were, but
Can we order them?
do you know anybody here that's got a 3D printer? Yeah, so if you got a 3D printer, just the STL files on Thingiverse. That's where we got it from. It's just a Thingiverse file for a 3D printer, the STL. Then you slice it for whatever printer you have and print. It takes like 10 cents worth of plastic, so they work.
Why did you guys charge us $110 for
That was Ted.
I was trying to drum you some minutes for
Yeah.
$10 a set. I thought that was a bit much. But you didn't bite.
No, that's fine. So the next step I'd normally do on here, according to my notes, is I would put a tenon on each side. And that's about the only time you need the cube drives for, is for putting the tenon on. Once you have the tenon on, you don't use cube drives anymore, you're actually using a chuck. So then you got total control and it's perfectly centered and everything is really handy. So I'm going to put on my face shield. Well, while we're talking about doing cube boxes, here's another cube box. It's a little different design. It's got a rounded bottom and it's got a different kind of wood. I think it's walnut wood for a lid on that. And so you're only limited by your imagination. Once you can hold a cube in a lathe, you can do just about anything you want with it. I'll pass that one around too. Thank you. I like to turn a little bit faster on these things because it's between centers. It's not going to go anywhere. And because we're cutting some air, I find it's easier to cut with a little bit more speed. Take a parting tool. Okay, so I like to crank the speed up a little bit on here. So I'll stand out of the line of fire. And I don't know how fast this is going, but it sounds about right. And so I know where the points are. Can you see the ghost image of the points? Which is the best view, that one or this one? That one? Okay. Anchor the tool. You don't ride the bevel with a parting tool, but make yourself some room. And I'm using the insert with the center insert as a guide for how big to make the lemon. So we got it almost all the way around. I'll just make it a little bit smaller. Because it's doing a 2-inch or a 50 millimeter cut on here, it doesn't give me a full circle on here, but I do have a chuck that has 35 millimeter jaws, so I'm going to take this down just a little bit more. It's a little noisy because I'm extending over the tool rest so far with a light tool, but now we've got an almost circle on there. So that's basically all we need the centering pieces for. Because now I can turn around and put it on my other chuck. And I like this chuck because it's got the shark jaws on it. And the shark jaws really pay off when you're making cubes, because this sticks out so far that a standard chuck won't hold it because it's sticking in too far. With the shark jaws, it'll hold it perfectly. And the reason I didn't cut both sides at the same time, can anybody guess why I didn't cut both sides at the same time?
The tail stuck up and connect on the back.
Yeah, but do you know why I didn't cut both of them at the same time while I was in there the first time? Because if I made it too small, if I make them both the same size, and I made one too small, I'd be screwed. I'd have to start over again. So this way, if this chuck wouldn't have grabbed it, I have another chance to make another one on this side.
Sounds like it wasn't experience.
I was going to say, don't ask me how I know that. And so one of the nice things about these chucks, if you make it almost a perfect circle, these jaws barely mark the wood. And as you'll see when you get a little further, I'm going to make another tenon on this side. I'm going to measure it so it'll be about the same size as this one. And I'm going to finish the outside of the box, and the outside of the box will be finished. Then when I put it around and put it in this chuck, it's going to hold on there. It won't mark the wood, and I can finish the inside. Yeah, that's the plan. So right now this is going to be the top of the box, and this is going to be the bottom of the box. Fingers crossed. I'll try and do this a little bit like that.
Is this your first time, Bert?
Yeah, first time on this lathe since, when was that, March of 2019? Was the last time I was on this lathe? Yeah, so that's been a while. Yeah, I'll just leave that up as just a little bit of support, just in case. And we'll go back to parting tool. Well, basically I can do a hole gouge on here.
Your tail stock isn't locked.
Yeah, it's not locked.
Tail stock's not locked? Okay. I'm just having to think out loud again here. This is where having the marks on the block of wood would have helped. This is going to be the top, so this is going to be the top wings, so these ones can disappear, and I'll have a tenon down here, so I got to stay away from these and just take these ones off. this banjo is moving a little bit, so I don't know if this nut needs to be tightened just a little. Try that again. So I don't want to touch these, but I can take these off. Now I've got to tighten this tail or this tool rest up because it's even when it's tightened around I can still move this. So can you get just a little bit? That'll do it. Good, thank you. Yeah, that's much better.
Just about. Where's the crane?
So the beauty of being able to move this in now, even though I'm cutting a lot of air, I can bring the tool in closer so there'll be a lot less chatter, and I can round this up until this flat's gone. Yep. Bowl gouge. A 1/2 inch bowl gouge. And the reason I'm using a bowl gouge on here is that because this is a cube, it's not end grain and it's not full cross grain. So for me the safest is the strongest is a bowl gouge. So I'm just going to get a rough guess on what this is right now, and looks like I'm there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a bead on here, and that's going to be my chucking point when I turn it around, and then I can continue on shaping this bowl, part of the bowl, as I see fit until I get rid of these flats, and then when I turn it around that chucking point will be the chucking point. I won't ever have to go back to it because once I've got this rounded, you take the tailstock away, I'm going to chop this right off and finish the end of the little foot. I might move this foot up this direction, probably another 1/2 inch. So when I'm cutting this, I can see I'm starting to get down to full round here, and I'm getting up closer and closer to the points. But when I'm cutting, I'm not looking down here where the bowl gouge is, I'm looking up here. So on the ghost image, when you see the ghost image, if you look up here, you'll see the ghost image starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's where I'm looking to, Because once I have the tool on here and it's cutting and it's against my body, I don't know if I'm doing it lively enough for everybody to see, but I try to use my body rather than my arms, because when you're cutting air, even that little bit of air, if you feel the tool going in and out and bouncing, you're cutting too hard. So when you're on the rest and you're cutting, and this is against your body, even when you're cutting air, it's not bouncing. It's cutting every time the wood comes by, but if it goes like this, pushing too hard. And that usually comes when your tool's not sharp enough, because you tend to push a little harder on a tool that's not quite sharp. And what did Raffin say? If you think your tool needs to be sharpened, sharpen it. The tool, I can ride the bevel, but here I'm actually shear cutting, so I shear cut, but I'm moving my body, not my arm. And then when I get out to the area where it's cutting air, you can hear it, but it's not bouncing the tool. If I try to cut too big, it'll start bouncing the tool, and that's not what you want. And so we've got a little bit of a flat here, and the flats are almost the same size, so we're in pretty good shape for centering. You can definitely hear the difference in the tool cutting from cutting air out here. And you can probably also hear the difference when cutting on the flat, when I'm cutting on the flats that are down here. So we've got one little flat here, another one here. They're almost exactly the same size. And so you'll be able to, I can feel the difference when I'm cutting over those flats. You might be able to hear it. And that's when we can, once I have these flats gone, that's when I'll start to decide how much of a radius I want to put on the bottom. Because I'm up past the points here now. So I want to keep the maximum amount of distance between these points if possible. So I'll work at shaving the bottom off a little more. I'm sorry?
Did you say what kind of wood that was?
This particular one is hard maple. Yeah. And it's a lamination. I didn't have any blocks that were, this is about 4 inches in diameter. So this is 3 pieces of 8/4 that were laminated together and then just cut into a cube. So you can tell I'm just about done. All these little flats are just about disappearing. And it's not a bad shape, but I think I want to make it a little bit more rounded. And this is where you have the opportunity to have design opportunities. So you could make an OG curve on here. You could make it a gentle round curve like the one that was perfectly round. Or you can do what I'm going to do this time is put a little foot on it. I like putting a little foot on these because it picks it up off the table and kind of makes it look a little more dainty.
You could leave those flat spots.
You could leave the flat spots, yes. Yeah. And if you had a flat spot here and you really like the shape but you didn't like the flat spots, you could do what Stu does. He takes a hammer and beats the shit out of the rest of it so it all looks the same.
One over there.
I know. The heckling goes both ways. Enter the tool, find out where the wood is, open your tool a little, and then move your body.
Tell them how they make that nice shaving coming off of there so good. It's,
Yeah. There's still one little bit of a flat. And so what I blame that on is I blame that on my sloppy sawing. My bandsaw has probably had a dull blade because there's about maybe a 64th of an inch difference in the square, right? And that's when it'll show up. Well, I have a hard time cutting it that direction.
yeah. You know, it's,
Walk the seed, enter the tool, bring the tool up, make a nice little shaving. And there's no shame in stopping and checking all the time. I stop and check a lot, and there's still just ever the slightest hint of a flat on there. So one more cut should probably get it. Yeah, all the flats are gone, so basically I'm going to work on the foot a little bit here and see what it looks like, and if I'm happy with the shape, we'll call it done. So when I'm working on a foot, I use a spindle gouge, and just a little easier to get in. And I'm going to check this. This looks like it should be, I think it'll fit in these chucks. Should be. Take my spindle gouge, enter the tool, I'm riding the bevel now, and I'm going to ride the bevel and run it into the foot, bring the handle out, rotate it a little bit, and then rotate it in again to make a bead. And I'll just clean the bead up a little bit with this way. And I'm going to cauterize the wood right where the bead is. It's basically just a piano wire. It burns a black line. Not only does it give you a black line, it actually gives you a bit of a detail and kind of marks off the difference between the box body and the foot. But what it also does, it cauterizes the wood, which makes it harder. And when you grab it on a perfect circle in your chuck, because the wood is a little bit harder, it's less likely to have any damage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to part this waste piece off, and I'm going to finish the bottom, and then we'll turn it around. And I like to part things off with a thin parting tool. I should be able to get there. Enter the tool. Make a little bit extra room. take that out of the way so that it's not going to interfere. And I like to be a little bit closer up to the center post if I can. Just a little bit of, closer as you can be to the center of your tool rest, the less vibration you'll have. Get up the speed. And now we'll just finish the bottom off. And when I'm cutting with a spindle gouge or a bowl gouge, I like the cutting point to be close to the center. So sometimes I'll have the tool rest quite a bit lower, depending on how far over the tool rest my tool is, because I want the cutting edge to be on center. So here, to get the cutting edge on center, I have to lift the handle up a little, but that's not a problem. That's that'll be good. Using the tool, trying to find the bevel. You're best off to go straight in with the tool closed, and this is in line with where you want to go. Otherwise, it'll escape. Once you started, now you can move around and open the tool up a little bit. And I like to put a little detail on the bottom, just by rocking the tool back and forth. And by making it cut in, it's actually undercutting the foot. But if you leave a couple little rings like that, then you've got some detail. And it's just, everybody I know that's a wood turner will pick up somebody's box. The first thing to do is turn it over and look at it. If there's something to look at, great. If there's nothing to look at, they think, huh, the guy's still learning, huh? Then one of the things for, I don't normally do it on the bottom of these, but how many people have ever used a wire burner to burn lines on a spindle? How do you put your burn lines on a face grain on the end? What do you use to put a burn on a face? Pardon?
Wood.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it used to
I
do.
use piano wire. No, piano wire stuck in a little piece of wood. I use the piano wire for this one.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of piano wire. I just got a short piece of piano wire and stuck it in a block of wood. And we'll see whether that works or not. Pardon?
He's got that stuck straight out.
I can tip pass it around. It might be a little warm on the end, but that's what I use. I'm not going to sand this a bunch, but I'm going to just hit it. At this point, I would finish sand this, and when I'm doing these, I could sand them up to whatever, but I normally finish them with Osmo. And Osmo recommends that you only go to about 150. Well, I go to 220 and still put Osmo on it. It still works. And slow the speed down a little bit. What's happening here? There we go. Potentiometer. Oh, okay, I had the potentiometer turned way down. So this has got a few tool marks on it, so I'll just take it down a little bit. I'm not going to sand it a whole bunch today. I'll just sand it a little bit just to hide the evidence. And as far as that good. And then what I do for a quick finish if I don't want to seal it, it's like sanding sealer. This is homemade friction polish. It's 1/3 boiled linseed oil, 1/3 shellac, and 1/3 denatured alcohol. Does everybody know what denatured alcohol is here in Canada? Is that? Well, that's got more water in it. This is about 95% pure alcohol, but it's ethyl alcohol, not methyl hydrate. It's ethyl alcohol, and they sell it at Canadian Tire, calling it smokeless fireplace fuel. Yeah, NRG, and it's 100% ethanol, and so that's what I use. But if you go to a hardware store and try and buy denatured alcohol, they'll look at you like you're from Mars. But if you go in and ask them for some smokeless fireplace fuel, they'll have racks of it. But you got to be careful, because some of them will try and sell you methyl hydrate. And methyl hydrate is it's an alcohol, but I come from industry where we used a lot of it in hydrate controls. And methyl hydrate's deadly. If you don't handle it correctly, it'll go right straight through your skin. And if you think ethanol or Everclear buggers your liver up, methyl hydrate will bugger it up big time, and then it gets hungry for your brain. So yeah, ethanol, not methanol. And not many people know the difference. Okay, so now the moment of truth. We're basically done with that end. This would be finished. And we'll see if this will come into almost a perfect circle. It's a little bit big, but guess what? Just because it was almost a perfect circle, well, it's a little bit big, so that's not a problem. And
Switch cameras.
switch camera, sorry, thank you. I was going to say I would switch back to my one-way chuck, but I took my dovetail jaws off of my one-way, and I don't like the profiled jaws as much. But that seems to have a pretty good hold. Because this is a little bit wide, there may be a few marks on here, but we can clean those up a little later. If they're there, we can. Now comes the fun part. We've got to take a piece off of here big enough to make the lid. I like to use a thinner parting tool for that one. And I'm going to go in at about an angle about like that. Because I've got all this wood that I could take off. It's going to come off anyhow. I could come back to here and go in. And I can play with the angle that I want on here. I think I'll probably try it about here. This is where it might get exciting. If I don't make enough clearance for my parting tool, it can get exciting really, really quickly. And I have to watch out for the wings, the wing tips. So I always make a lot of room.
I feel better.
Here's your tool back. Okay. Okay, well, I guess that happened.
You could put your tailstock back on.
I could, yes, and I probably should have. I'm just trying to think now how am I going to recover this. I'm going to recover this when we get to the other side. And you're right, I will put the tailstock on until I'm ready to get to a smaller. What would a demonstration be without a piece of wood coming off the lathe? And so another good point too is back in the day, the insurance requirements were to put something like this in front of you, in front of the people that are watching the demo. Well, I'm just demonstrating why that happens.
It's all part of the demonstration.
It's all part of the demonstration, yeah. And if you don't believe me, just ask my heckler. I'm going to take this off and just use the point for support.
Actually, maybe knock the center out of the steady. So it sits in that little cup.
I could. I should have brought my other. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the flat off there.
Yeah.
Because basically now it's held in a chuck, so it's basically on center, or as good as it's going to be. This way. I don't know if this takes some more cuts. And I always try to remember to stop the lathe before I move the tail rest, or tail stop, or the tool rest. A little bit of support. And you put it in about here. Yeah, I'm okay.
Here's the rest of your face shield.
Wow. So we're talking about face shields being very, very important. That wasn't planned, and I'm not exactly sure why that happened. Obviously, I didn't have a big enough foot on here; it broke off. So
Let's pass it around, Rick.
this,
Yeah.
I was gonna fix it. I'll fix my face mask. So anybody that doesn't think face masks are a good thing, that's a perfect example. And like I said, I was going to show you my video of my face mask falling apart, but I don't think we could match this.
So, would you recommend making a little bit longer tenon?
Probably. I should have made a bigger tendon, a little heavier. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Show it to us in the camera, that bird.
Okay, yeah, I can show it to you here. So basically what ended up happening, I had too much strain on here with the parting tool, and this foot was too small, so it just peeled the wood off. And that could be because it's an open grain maple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck it back on this big tenon, and I'm going to move the foot up into a little bit more metal, or a little bit more wood, and leave a bigger, thicker foot on. That's the plan. And I definitely did not plan that to happen that way. And one of the things I'm really, really happy about is I do have the recording on. So I've got it on record. So I'll be able to go back and look at it and figure out what the heck did I do wrong. And when I make the video and post it up, I'll definitely have a couple comments on why it happened and what I did wrong. And if you guys have any comments, once it's posted, please jump online and put some comments on.
Probably the lathe.
No, no, can't blame this on the lathe. Yeah. Okay, so we'll start again with a bowl gouge and see if we can put a bigger foot on. In the tool, we'll just come in and gently bring this in. So that's a little bit bigger. No, it's thicker this way. There's more wood. So before I only had about 1/4 of an inch of wood, and now I've got about almost 1/2 inch of wood to ground. I'm going to see if the we'll see how the 50mm jaws close up on this. No, the 50mm jaws won't do it, so 35mm jaws are the right ones. I got everybody's attention now anyhow.
No more napping.
No more napping, yeah. Well, I guess one of the saving graces is by having the tool or the tailstock up here is when it does decide it wants to go someplace, it can't really go anywhere. It's going to go straight that way or straight down. If this wasn't here, it could go just about anywhere it wants.
Yeah, but hit in the face.
And what I think I'm going to do is to help get rid of this flying wing. That's probably what launched it. Is this little bit of the wing here probably caught my parting tool back away from where the cut was happening. And I don't need that little bit of a wing here, so I'm going to take that off first so that I'm only parting in on a clean.
Lock your quill up there with your quill lock.
What's that?
Yeah, on the top there.
And what?
Was that locked?
This is now, yeah. So that's in there. That's locked. This is locked. Tighten that up again. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it like this. I'd like to keep a bit of this wood because that's part of going to be what's going to be the lid, but I can take this point right off without any problem and still have enough wood left for the design. Making a little bolt out, and I'm just nibbling in by squeezing my fingers. I'm not moving my body, I'm just pulling with my fingers. Oh, we're trying this again. I'm going to try my thicker parting tool just to see if it has a little more stability. I don't know if I've got that smooth enough to bust off. Okay, so now the trick is to shape the inside of these wings and make the mound for the center of the box. So that should be, gotta go down just a little. Bowl gouge work. Get the tailstock right out of the way. You don't want this point to be able to jab you in the elbow, so we'll take it out.
What's that feel like?
It's been so long I can't remember it. Or it's been so long that I do remember it. Yeah. Okay, so now let's set this up this direction. So the idea now is to nibble away at this here until we get this down to as reasonable spacing all the way along on all three sides. But I want to leave the center a little bit of a mound like I did in the example one. Look at the tool. Got this against our body. Okay. Anchor the tool, anchor against our body, and I bring my body so it brings the tool into the wood. I've got way more control moving my hips than I do moving my arms. And I'll just start making a cut in. Let's open the tool slightly. So I'll make a cut all the way in so I know where I've got to work at. And the opening for the box is going to be about that big, so it probably won't go down. I won't take any more wood off of here. I'll take all the wood off of here and then blend this down so that there'll be a mound. But I know that the opening for the box is going to be about that round anyhow, so it's not a problem. Enter the tool. And I'm moving my body, and if I'm not moving the tool around, I'm using my whole body to actually shape it. So, and I'm also looking over here to see where the points are. So I bring it up until it's touching the wood, and then I look at the other side. And I know I've got a long ways to go here, but I do like to stop and take a look every once in a while because I tend to get too close to the points before I get this part. So I want to start steepening my cut so that my cut, all the cuts I'm doing now is I'm trying to get a practice cut to get this arc, the right arc. So we've got about 1/4 of an inch here, 3/8 of an inch. So I can take at least another full 1/8 of an inch off of here. And I'm starting to get a little steeper, which is nice. That's what I want to do. I've got a bit of tear out on this edge here, so chances are this box would probably get sanded. Once I've got everything else shaped, I would just sand that on a flat to
So
to
to
get
get
it.
that parallel with the outside, or the outside curve,
Yeah.
you gotta go in straighter.
I have to go in straighter and follow cutting in this way. Right now I've been cutting in out this way, so I have to bring this point deeper and follow the outside line. So I got to start here and take more cuts until this is starting to follow in, and then I'll have to come in and take some more out of here. And because you generally with cross grain work, you try and cut from the big to the small, so I'll have to take a little bit more off of here because this is a little bit higher than what I really need, but I didn't know that to start with. The point of these points, the lid should sit inside, so the only thing sticking up above the points would be the handle. I mean, that's just one design. It's totally up to what one person sees may vary. Right? What I like may not be what you like. I'm going to start by taking a little more off of here. And a 40-degree bevel doesn't like to be a bottom feeder. So I don't know if if you're ever cutting a bowl and you're cutting in on the inside and you get to the transition point, it gets rowdy. It's probably because the angle here is not designed to give you the freeboard to get the dot feel around. And so a 40-degree ground is not really good for going across the bottom of the bowl. So that's why I'm coming in from this side as well, to give me some room. You might be able to hear the difference in the cut when you get into that bottom little crevice. You hear the difference in vibration? That's the difference in the way the angle is cutting on the wood. Because coming in on this side, we're actually riding the bevel. So it's got support. And without support, it will vibrate. Okay, so that's coming along. We're inside of here now. I just have to work on getting this arc. This arc isn't too bad for matching the outside. I just have to make it thinner. So we're a little less than 1/4 of an inch on the end. One of these is a little thicker than the others. That's because I didn't get it straightened out, or when this foot broke off, it probably didn't get back in perfectly centered. So I can take that down just a little bit more in the center than on the wings. Nipper in the tool. Now I can actually bring the bevel up and bring the bevel and then start the cut. I keep trying to lean my knee in to shut it off because I have a Vic mark at home, and every time I want to stop it, I just bang it with my knee. I still got to take a little bit more off the bottom side. I'm getting it. And if this gets too sharp, you can easily cut yourself really, really easily on this birch gets razor sharp, or this maple gets razor sharp. I can take just a little more off of that, and then we'll call that part of it a finish. Well, I think in the interest of time, we'll call that good. I just don't like the real sharp edges on that right now, so I'll just get rid of the sharp edges. Now to hollow this, so I think this is just a 1-inch bit, and I'm just going to put a recess or drill a hole in it, and then I've got chuck jaws that I can go in and grab it so that I can finish the foot off, because the activity going inside is not going to be as much strenuous as what we've already been doing. So we'll turn this, famous last words. So we'll measure there. Out there, we can go quite a bit further. Should be good. So I've got two choices that I could do now. Is I could continue on hollowing this thing out and then shaping the top. And one of the things I could do is put a burn ring on here, and then I can grab that with a chuck to take the foot off. And because I've got a really good solid base right now, I probably want to do that because I don't want this to come loose when I'm hollowing. Even though I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a problem, I was pretty sure it wasn't going to be a problem before.
What's that?
Well, what would a demonstration be if everything went perfect? Huh? And I guess one of the important things is that my safety moment was about face shields, and I couldn't show you the one I wanted to show you, so I showed you something else. But it's not something I wanted to do on purpose, I can honestly tell you that.
No, it shakes you up.
So for hollowing these things, my favorite tools for hollowing these small things are hunter tools. And hunter tools they're carbide, but they're a small round carbide. I think they're what, 5/16?
Yeah, about that.
They're really, really, which camera are we on?
You're on the end. Okay.
So, I don't know if you can see those. They're real tiny little carbide. I bought this when I was in Calgary. When did I leave Calgary? 6, 7 years ago?
Holy smoke.
And I bought them a couple years when I was still in Calgary. When Terry first got these in at Black
Yeah.
Forest, I bought this set, and this one only had 2 straight, and the hook tool for getting underneath the outside edge. These are the only tools I've ever needed. I have yet to turn the carbide,
I had mine for the same length of time, and I haven't turned them yet either.
and they're still cut. And when they get dull on one side, you can turn them so that they can keep on going.
They function basically like a scraper then?
These are like a scraper, but like a shear scraper, because they're a cupped carbide. So if you go straight in, they'll grab like crazy and just rip it right off. So when you take these, you have to go in with the idea they're like a bowl gouge or a spindle gouge. You got to tip them over on the side, and then as you're cutting, open it up a little. So it's acting like a spindle gouge or a bowl gouge. But if you put them straight in, they're a scraper. But they're a really aggressive scraper. But if you turn them sideways, they become a shear scraper. And now you can just stroke wood out, and they will hog wood out really quickly, even on the side. I'll try not to get too aggressive, but
They're beautiful too. They really are. They're so good.
I really like mine. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Round.
When you're using them, are you know, when you're using the carbide, you try and keep below the center line?
What I try to do is try and keep it on center, perfectly on center. And I don't know if you can see this. There's the cup facing up. When I go in, that's facing this way. Like it's facing right on edge. And then I go in and touch the bottom, rotate it a little bit, and then carve it out. So
Is that why you have your tape on there, Bert? Just to identify top?
probably, it's probably for one demonstration. I probably put this tape on there to explain that, so that when I'm out here, I can see where the cutter is, right? Otherwise, I don't know. But I'm used to it now that when I go in this way, I'll turn it sideways, run it to the bottom, and then open it up. But it's a good idea to mark the side of your shaft where the face of the cutter is. So when you're in there 2 inches, you know where the cutter is. And I'll guarantee you, everybody that's used these has had an exciting experience at least once. But you definitely want it to be on center, and on center when it's at the bottom of the bowl. So I got to raise this up a little. And because this shaft is so narrow, once you get over the shaft 2 or 3 inches, it starts to vibrate and makes noise. Don't be scared of it making noise, just back off in your cut a little bit. So it might take you 10 more cuts to get the material off. But that's not a problem, we all have more time. We'd like to have more time. So I bring the tool in, I know where the face is, I turn it 90 degrees, I run it into the bottom, okay, there's the bottom, I come over to the side, you can hear it vibrating. It's because the tool is so small that it vibrates, so you take lighter cuts. And if you go across center, it'll snap you across. So you'll know where center is because it'll stick your tool across. And it's usually a good idea to clean the chips out regularly, because the chips will pack in there, and when they pack in, they actually act like solid wood, and it'll push your tool. It'll push your tool out of the way.
Don't put your finger in there.
At home, I've got an air compressor, so I usually blow it out there. How are we doing for time, Terry?
We are at 20 after 8. Should probably, some of the guys gotta drive a little ways.
Okay. How much time we got left?
30 is usually when we wrap it up, so,
And we're at 20 after?
yeah.
Okay, so basically you guys probably hollowed out a little bowl. We don't need to hollow this out anymore. We'll move over to the, I'm going to fix up the entry level for the cap. And that won't take long to do the cap. So basically I put my spigot jaws on, stick this on the spigot, open it up, and I would flatten off the base and make the base however I want it to look, right? Because that'll hold lots to finish the base off. And I want to move on to the lid. So we take this. Take a pair of set of dividers and figure out how big the hole is, and we mark it on here. Okay, we're going to have to take a lot of wood out of here, but we should be able to still make it. Okay. We take the bowl, fit it up to there. It's a little loose, but I've got this chunk of wood here that I need to remove. But if I take it down just to the base of that, I'll still have enough that'll cover the hole. So I think that's going to be good. I'll take this down and then I'll reverse chuck it and finish the top. Just a little bit there. So we'll take this off of here. And that's a Talon chuck with #1 jaws. I'm good at that.
You're in RedDeer, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I can honestly say I haven't had that many things fly out of the truck for a long time, so.
Well, that's the third time, so you're done now.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuel rest is a little bit low. So we'll just swap chucks one more time and we'll get that flip. There we go. One little bowl. even with all the excitement.
Well, thanks, Bert, that was a great demonstration. And I feel for you, man, I've been in your spot where I've had to fly out the lathe in front of a crowd as well, so.